The movie begins in the middle of the night. A policeman parks his patrol car by the roadside and receives instructions from his boss. He's seen walking towards a house. He knocks at the door and suddenly, he hears a child scream out loud. He goes round the back to try and get in through the back door, but he sees that it's blocked. He points his flashlight inside the house and sees a deceased body on the floor. He calls for an ambulance and an additional unit to his location. He finally forces his way into the house and starts searching the house. He goes upstairs and sees the body of a little boy on the floor. He sees more bodies around the house and calls for more units, ambulances, and detectives. The occurrence of the previous day is being displayed on the news. The newscaster says that local residents are in shock after 911 receives a call about screams coming from a neighboring house. Local police discovered 3 bodies in the house. Neighbors and the family babysitter were interviewed on the news. One of the neighbors says he doesn't believe something like this could ever happen in the neighborhood. The babysitter says she used to babysit for the family, and what happened to Belle and Link is unthinkable. Other neighbors are very sad because of what happened. The newscaster says according to the local police department, there are no leads on the whereabouts of the 8-year-old Annabelle. The case that shocked the whole town remains a mystery. The policeman from the previous scene walks in and sits to be interviewed. He states his name, and the interviewer says they've all seen the news reports and wants to know what he thinks happened to Annabelle, but he says he doesn't know. The interviewer asks him if he has seen the footage from the house and what he makes of it. He says he can't explain it. The interviewer asks why the department released the footage, and he says that the department hopes the release of the footage would help produce leads on how Annabelle disappeared. July 10th, 2018. The first footage shows the dad ask the mom if their daughter is going to like the camera, and the mom says she will, that their daughter has been asking for it for a while now. They walk into Annabelle's room to give her the new camera that they bought for her. She asks if it is really for her, and her mom says she can't be an internet star without a camera. Her dad asks her if she likes it, and then shows her how to use it. Annabelle hugs both of them, thanking them for the gift. She tells her mom to do a show with her, as her dad sets the camera down and walks out of the room, leaving them to play together. Annabelle's mom asks her what she wants to name her show. She says Belle's Life, but her mom tells her that it's a little off and suggests Life of Belle. Annabelle says she loves it as they start playing with her dolls. Annabelle takes the camera down the stairs with her, as we see her brother also going down the stairs. She shows her parents cleaning the kitchen and dining area. Her dad says the internet is not interested in seeing them clean, but she says her fans want to see it. She puts the camera on the table and goes to play outside with her brother. Her mom looks at the camera and says to her fans that the show's over. Annabelle records herself playing with slime on the table. She walks around the house, shows a picture of herself on the wall, and her dad changing the batteries of the camera in the house. She picks one of her dolls from a box and goes to play with it. After a while, she goes to draw on her iPad. Then her brother comes in, aims a Nerf gun at her saying freeze, then he shoots. Annabelle's dad puts a blanket over him pretending to be a monster and crawls towards her. She calls out for help and says the monster wants to eat her and her friends. Her brother runs in to save her wearing a helmet and carrying a plastic sword. Then they slay the monster together. Mom calls them down for dinner. It's nighttime, and everyone is in their room sleeping. Suddenly, the mom starts screaming, and the dad tries to calm her down, telling her that she just had a bad dream. July 11th, 2018. Annabelle and her parents are seen sitting in the living room, and her brother is seen in the bedroom jumping on the bed. The dad sees him on the security camera and goes to call him down. They put on their shoes and go outside. Annabelle is seen in a toy car with her brother driving them down the street. Then they play in the grass as their parents watch them. The dad asks the mom if they should talk about what happened last night, but she refuses. He offers to get her medicine, but she tells him not to worry that she already has one. Annabelle puts the camera down and starts recording. She welcomes her fans to her channel, Life of Belle, and introduces a special guest, Link, her brother. They both play with a toy on the table and then hear their mother scream. She screams at the dad, telling him to shut up. She apologizes, and the dad tells her to calm down. The kids peep from a corner. He asks if she's taking her meds, and she in turn asks him if he thinks she's crazy as she starts crying. The dad hugs her and opts to cancel his trip for her, but she tells him not to. Later that evening, the mom's in the kitchen packing up some snacks which she takes outside. The dad sets up a fire, and they all sit around it roasting marshmallows. He picks up the camera and tells Annabelle to tell them a scary story. She says there was a ghost in front of her, but she ignored it. But it kept following her and looking at her. As she looked at it, it came up and scared her. She said she was so scared and she ran away. but the ghost kept on following her. Now it's time for the dad to tell his own story. He says when he was about Annabelle's age, he knew a girl that lived across from his house. He says the girl was weird, she was strange, but he loved playing with her. Then, one day, he decided to walk over to her house, and she comes running out the front door, frantic and scared. He asked her what's wrong, and she says she saw something. Suddenly, Mom stops Dad from finishing the story, but he insists on telling the story to the end. Dad continues the story. He asks the girl what she means by something. The girl tells him not to worry about it, that it's something. He then goes to her house the next day to see what the girl is talking about. He looks around her room, doesn't find anything, and asks her again what she means by something. Then she breaks down and says she sees things out of the corner of her eyes just moving slightly. She describes the thing as tall, almost human-like, and that she can't look at it. They continue playing, and everything went by. He then tells his kids that if they get that overwhelming feeling like something is watching them, don't shrug it off, because they never know what is actually watching. He then shouts to scare the kids, but the mom says it's not funny. After a while, the dad tells Annabelle and her brother that it's time for bed as he pours water on the hot coals that were on the ground. July 12, 2018. The next day, the dad is seen carrying a travel bag. He hugs Luke and then tells Annabelle that he'll be gone for a few days and that when he gets back, he will help her make her channel. The kids say goodbye to him. They look sad and their mom tells them to cheer up and go have some fun. Luke is playing on the swing and Annabelle puts her camera on the ground and goes to join him. They start running around and Luke stops to tell her that he's hungry. They both run to their mom and tell her that they're hungry, but she seems lost in her thoughts. They keep calling out to her until she finally answers and takes them inside the house. She sets the table and starts to prepare their food. Annabelle is in her room playing with her toys and humorously talking to them. The mom is still in the kitchen preparing their meal, and Luke's in the room rolling round on a chair playing with his iPad. The mom goes to call their kids to come down for lunch. Annabelle picks up her camera and goes down the stairs, and so does her brother. Annabelle shows her fans what she's eating, and her brother opens his mouth to show his already chewed food, making Annabelle tell her mom that her brother's grossing out all her fans. But her mother, who's lost in her thoughts, gets up and walks away, which is weird. It's the middle of the night, and the mom goes downstairs and starts talking to herself, walking around the living room in the dark. July 13th, 2018. A phone rings, and the mom goes to pick up the call. Annabelle is outside with her brother trying to find some worms under the rocks. The mom is on a call with her husband, and she tells him that they should look for new houses when he gets back, because they've been in their current house for a while. She says she'll send him some houses to look at. As they talk, she stares into the living room like she sees something, and after a while on the phone, she hangs up. She goes to open the kitchen drawer and takes her meds with a glass of water. After taking them, she sits down with her phone, and all of a sudden, she starts to feel lightheaded. So she goes to the sink and tries to make herself throw up the meds. She goes to the drawer, takes all the meds, and throws them in the trash. Luke and Annabelle take the worm they found inside to go show their mom and ask her if they can keep it. But she says no and asks them how they would feel if they were trapped with nowhere to go, and tells them to take it back out. So they take it out and put it back under the rock. The mom calls out to Annabelle to the bathroom to brush her teeth, even though it's still daytime. The mom brushes Annabelle's hair and tells her to make sure she changes her clothes after brushing. Luke was sitting on the tub. He falls back into it and starts laughing. The mom tells them to floss after they finish brushing. Then they all go to bed. The mom sits in the living room crying. The TV is static. Annabelle's in her room dancing in front of her camera, when suddenly she hears a noise coming from downstairs. She goes to check it. She stands by the stairs and hears her mom crying, and as she calls out, her mom lets out a loud scream that scares Annabelle, making her run to bed. July 14th, 2018. Annabelle is at the table showing her fans the slime she made. Her mom walks behind her and says, "Hey followers." But Annabelle stops and asks her mom if she's okay, that she heard her crying last night. Her mom says it was from the movie she was watching on TV, then hugs her and tells her that everything's gonna be okay. Her phone rings, and she goes to pick it up. Luke comes running and says he wants to talk to his dad. He collects the phone and asks his dad when he is coming home and says he misses him. He then gives Annabelle the phone. She talks to her dad and tells him that she's recording everything, then says bye to him. The mom takes the phone back and starts talking to the dad in a loud voice and tells him to come home if he doesn't trust her. Her loud tone caught the attention of Annabelle and her brother, who were staring at their mom. She then angrily hangs up and throws her phone on the couch. It's nighttime. Annabelle and Luke are brushing their teeth, and their mom is braiding Annabelle's hair. As she was about to floss, her mom pulls her hair, which hurts her. Her mom starts to look at the shower curtain like something or someone was hiding behind it, which makes her pull on Annabelle's hair. She tells her mom that she knows she has a problem and to tell her what it is. But her mom just pecks her cheek and sends her off to bed. Luke is downstairs. He opens a drawer to pick up a flashlight. He turns it on and goes to Annabelle's room. Annabelle's recording and telling her followers that she and her brother are about to play hide and seek. Luke goes to hide, and Annabelle counts to 10 before she goes to search for him. She walks around the house calling out to him, but gets no reply. She goes downstairs and keeps on searching for him. She goes back upstairs and sees her brother staring at their mom, who's crouched up on the floor in a corner, crying. She gets up and starts walking towards them. They get scared, and both run into Annabelle's room. Luke asks Annabelle if he can sleep in her room, and she says yes. July 15th, 2018. The next morning, the kids are playing on the seesaw, and their mom is inside arranging the house and seems to be talking to someone. Annabelle asks Luke if he thinks something is wrong with their mom, and he says he thinks she just misses their dad. The mom keeps talking but looks very uneasy. Annabelle and her brother go inside the house as their mom walks downstairs. Annabelle and Luke put on a bubble suit to play and try to push each other down. Annabelle's in her room playing with her toys, assigning them roles based on their appearance. She is interrupted by a strange noise and goes to investigate. She sees her mom acting strangely again, crying loudly and hitting the wall with her hands. She hears a loud thud and goes into a room where she sees her brother hiding under the table. He tells her that he's scared, and she says she's also scared. She puts her camera down and sits beside him under the table and tries to comfort him. July 17th, 2018. It's raining outside, so Annabelle can't go out to play. So she stays in the living room playing with her toys, and her brother is upstairs playing with his Nerf gun. She gets tired and says she doesn't want to play anymore. She picks up her camera, and on her way up, she hears her mom shouting. She gets to the room and sees her mom lifting her brother in the air shouting, "This is not my son," and keeps shouting before she snaps back to normal. She apologizes and tells them it's okay. She then tells them to play a game with her, which they refuse. But she tells Annabelle to put down the camera and forces them to play with her. They get down from the bed, and she makes them hold their hands together. She tells them this is a game where they keep their eyes closed no matter what they hear or what they feel. She tells them to close their eyes and starts whispering to them in a creepy way. She starts crying and tells them to open their eyes. She shouts at them and says the game is to keep their eyes closed. She starts talking to them in a creepy way again and shouts at them to open their eyes. As they open their eyes, she shouts again and tells them to keep their eyes closed. At this point, Annabelle and her brother are all ready to, as their mom repeats it all again. Luke sits at the dining table as his mom gives him his meal. She then scatters the table and puts Annabelle's meal on it. Annabelle is in her room crying as her mom calls her down to eat. She goes to the dining table, looks at the peanut butter sandwich, and asks her mom if she can have something else. But her mom says no and tells them to hurry up because they still have a lot of practicing to do. Luke asks if they can call their dad, but his mom says no. They start begging, which infuriates her, making her throw a plate on the floor. She says that she's the only one that can protect them, but they say no, and she walks out on them. She starts talking to herself again and unexpectedly screams and tells them that their food is poison. She picks up the plates, throws them in the trash, and tells Annabelle and Luke to go get more trash bags. She takes all the fridge and cupboards and puts them all in the trash. Annabelle enters her room and starts recording a video. She starts crying silently and says she thinks something is wrong with her mom, and she's been having bad dreams, and in her dreams her mom was hitting her, and she's very scared. She says in her dreams there were very creepy sounds, and she stops to look back and her mom grabs her from behind. She starts crying, and she tells her it's okay and to close her eyes. They're both crying, and her mom leaves her there in the dark crying. Luke comes inside and climbs the bed, holding on to his sister, who is still crying. July 18th, 2018. Annabelle is writing on her iPad while her brother is checking out her camera on the bed. He asks her if anyone has watched her videos yet. She says no, that she's still waiting for her channel. She takes the camera back and they go downstairs. They go tell their mom to make them breakfast, but in a low tone. She continues to say, "Don't look at them," repeatedly. They walk away and decide to make their meal by themselves. They open the fridge but see that it's empty. Luke then goes to the trash to pick out the food their mom threw away. They get tired of it and then go outside to play. The mom stands by the call saying she tried last, asks what she can do, like there's someone there that she's talking to. She gets on the kitchen table and takes off the lamp shades on the chandelier. Outside, Annabelle asks her brother if he's going to stay at her, and he replies, yes, always, as they hold each other. They go back inside the house and Annabelle sees that her mom has taken out all the light bulbs in the house. It's night, and the whole house is dark, so Luke carries a flashlight and starts packing his bag. Annabelle's in her room packing her bags too when Luke comes in. He asks her where they will move to, and she says she doesn't know, maybe to the street or to a friend's house. Their dad gets back home and meets their mom by the staircase. He asks her what's wrong with the light, and she asks if he saw them, that she heard a sound, click click. He tells her he didn't, and they go inside. From inside the room, the dad tells the mom to stop and abruptly groans out loud in pain. Annabelle is still in her room packing her bags, and her brother asks her what if it storms. The mom runs down the stairs to lock the doors and close the windows. Annabelle does a video for her followers apologizing and telling her fans that this is going to be her last video for a while, as she has decided to run away. They hear a loud noise come from downstairs and go out to check what made the noise. By the stairs, they see their mother dragging a chair which she uses to block the back door. Her brother asks what their mom is doing, but she says she doesn't know. He says he's scared and wants to get out of the house. He says they need to call their dad. They both go down with their flashlights. Luke sees their mom's phone on the table, but it's broken. Their mom lets out a loud scream which scares them. They start crying as they run upstairs. As Annabelle gets to her room, she doesn't see her brother behind her and goes out to look for him. She sees him hiding in a corner and tells him that he's supposed to stay with her. As they make their way back to the room, their mom appears out of nowhere and tries to grab them, but they run into their dad's room and Annabelle locks the door so she wouldn't get inside. As they're crying, they see their dad's body fall to the ground with blood all over him. Their mom breaks down the door and goes to carry Luke. She starts petting him and tells them that she's going to protect them. While Luke is crying in her arms, she picks up a knife. Annabelle screams and runs out of the room. Her mom calls her name and starts looking for her around the house. As Annabelle tries to find a place to hide, she sees her brother with blood all over his face as he begs her to help him. She gets scared, screams, and runs down the stairs. She goes to hide behind the counter. As she sits there, more scared than she's ever been in her whole life, her mom crawls out from the corner, calls her name, and tells her not to run. She's crying as she points the flashlight at her mom, who picks up a knife from the kitchen drawer and walks towards her. Her mom suddenly grabs her by her arms, and she drops the flashlight. She moves back and suddenly, there is silence. The mom pleads with her daughter to come closer. Her daughter continues to cry and scream loudly. The mom begs her and tells her to be quiet. Then, the mom moves closer, crying, and tells her daughter, "I love you," before she passes away. The mom falls down, bleeding, and the daughter screams very loudly, continuing to cry. A message shows on the screen. To this day, the whereabouts of Annabelle are still unknown. If you have any information, please contact the local authorities. Annabelle, please come home.